Hey everybody, welcome to the new episode of Genuine Unintelligence. Got kind of a grab bag worth of stuff for you this week. Just a couple topics I kind of want to go over. It seems like with media and movies and series and stuff, things are getting out of control here recently. First is kind of a question. If you guys want to kind of email or message me what your thoughts are on this, is what makes a good story? In my personal opinion, characters, character development. I feel like there has to be a little bit of an element of surprise. Obviously, character growth in most scenarios. There has to be a purpose or a reasoning behind the things, and not just random events. If it's a movie, the thing is, for for it to be good, the acting doesn't have to necessarily be good for the story to be good. Because the story could still be good even if the acting is bad. I don't have any particular movie in mind, but this is kind of my thoughts on it. Of what constitutes a great story. I'm going to be honest. I don't. At one point I had like all the streaming services and all that stuff, and I just never watched them. I'm just not. I don't know. I get easily bored or distracted these days if I'm trying to just like watch TV and it's not something I'm really into, so I never end up finishing it. But I think, and I've probably brought this up before, but I think anime has, even though there's a lot of animes that are somewhat similar because there's different types. There's shonen, where they kind of all go through like a training phase, at the beginning. Uh, there's similarities, but I feel like the story and writing of anime and not just anime, I mean manga, of course, because that's where anime comes from, is just really good. Um, so that pulls me in because it's character development. It has a purpose, and I don't know. I'm a big fan. It's just these days with American TV, it's like we'll get into it, but it's kind of like we're just doing rehashes and nonsense. But as far as a good story, I think where things get lost sometimes is the purpose. Like why are these things happening? Why is this happening? Why did this happen? What's the reason? So, and even in my own writing, I always ask myself, I'm like, well, why would that be happening? There has to be a purpose, and to try to put yourself in that character. Would that character act that way? Is that natural? Is that something they would do? Is that something they would say? It's a hard thing to master. But then, of course, with actors, a lot of them will get themselves into the character and they see it in a certain way. So sometimes scripts will change. That will definitely happen. Lines will change, or they may just change the character altogether because it may seem like a better idea of what they think on the character. So it's just kind of a food for thought if you have any ideas of what constitutes a good story for you. Obviously, there's many books. With books, there's going to be foreshadowing. Which of course foreshadowing is kind of subtle hints of things to come without blatantly being outright about it. So just little tidbits of information you can use to kind of get a good idea of where the story may be going, or it could just be complete farce where they're just trying to sway you in one way or another, and then it's never really going to happen. Which is a good writing tool as well. To be able to trick the audience and make them forget that it's all in all make believe for a moment is something amazing, and obviously something to celebrate if that is possible. So kudos to kudos to writers out there that can do that. I think I mentioned it before. I was a huge Stephen King fan growing up. Pierce Anthony. Now I listen to a lot of other podcasts too and stories that I have my Audible account that's pretty loaded, and I try to just look up new genres and types and just give them a listen and Sometimes you get into them, sometimes you just kind of get bored. Just kind of depends. But if you're into stories and stuff like that, we are on Audible as well. So if you like things like that, it's a good thing to look into. And, you can usually do that while multitasking. So, or at least I do a lot. So, that's a good way. But if you have any more thoughts on what constitutes a good story, you can hit me up on the Facebook or email or whatever you want to. Kind of off the nothing to do with what we just talked about, but kind of another food for thought moment. What makes a good employee? So I guess in this scenario, and yeah, this is based on real life scenarios, but there are, and I'm not calling anybody out in particular here, I'm just stating that I've had, previous jobs and things where I've ran into this. Would you rather, or I guess, if an employee seemed to be on top of the game, always working hard, trying to do things, but they even sometimes knew things you didn't, would that scare you, or would you covet that? Like, would you be excited for them and their growth, or would you be like, oh no, this person could take my job one day? Because, that can be a real fear. If someone catches on, if they really want your job and they're better at it, then that could certainly be a possibility. It's just a kind of something I've had private discussions with other people about, and I was curious where the listeners fall on that, of what they think about that. Are you... Well, in the end, we all have to watch out for ourselves because we got to eat, right? It's no secret. But in the end, would you help somebody or really be afraid? I'm going to be honest. I've ran into a lot of what I feel like is, they've never outright really said it, but I feel like I've ran into a lot of fear. Just being a knowledgeable person and always trying to be on top of my stuff. And I feel like that definitely paints me a certain way or gives fear sometimes to those above me. And it kind of ends up hurting my chances of doing things at some point because they're thinking, well, maybe we should slow this person down a little bit because I gotta watch out for me. Which could be a confidence thing, I get it. Sometimes we're not always as confident as we should be, even when we're skilled, so I get that. But it's just something curious. I wonder if any of you have kind of ran into that, or if you have a different thought on that as well, just kind of let me know. Like I said, on the Facebook, or you can email me at nick@genuineunintelligence.com. If you ever have any questions, comments, feedback, anything to do with the podcast, the website, my streams, whatever, you can reach me there anytime you want. But I got some thinking and, stuff for you guys to do this time, so I'm curious what will come back with that. And you can be as personal as you want to be with that. You can give me all the details. You can be, broad. I'm not looking to write a report. I don't need to know the companies, unless you want me to know and things like that. So, just kind of curious, behavioral things. Done a lot of behavioral studies, and that ties into my job as well. So, just kind of curious on that. Also, on top of that, would you rather have someone who's quiet or someone that speaks out? Now, there is kind of a fine line there, and, sometimes, you get this kind of awkward, I've had several situations awkwardly where we have these team meetings and things, and, we're talking about things, and it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because we'll be talking about things. I know the answer, but I've run into feel like where it's almost sometimes resentment to be able to answer a question, like being this quote-unquote know-it-all. That's not really it. If somebody wants to ask me a question, I'll do my best to answer it, but a lot of people take that the wrong way. It's like some sort of cockiness or know-it-all, blah, blah, blah. So, would that also play in your factor of to promote or not to promote? Would you want someone that's either just quiet and then addresses you afterwards? Would you want someone who speaks in the middle of the meeting to let everybody know, their thoughts? Just kind of curious. Let me know on that just to add that to the previous question. So one other thing that's come up, it seems like it's just out of left field. I know that we've reached this like point of no return with like these remakes and everything, but what the hell is going on with Hollywood right now? What is happening? Like, there's some of this has been confirmed, some of it is rumors, but obviously Hogwarts Legacy was a big hit. It was a good game. I think they did really well. Apparently now, though, I've heard a couple different things. We're either getting a Hogwarts Legacy timeline live action series, which could be pretty cool, so then the other rumor is they just want to make another Hogwarts / Harry Potter entire TV series to cover the whole timeline with new actors. Because, I don't know him personally, but from what I've read, Daniel Radcliffe sounds like he's done with Harry Potter. I don't blame him. He's done, great stuff since then, and I'm sure he's probably over that role. And obviously, he's probably my age, probably even older, so I don't blame him for wanting to play, a kid, and I'm sure he's not broke, so I don't blame him for that. So, sometimes reboots can be fine. I feel like the movies are still pretty new. It's not like they were at a time where CGI and stuff wasn't good. I don't think it's really... I'm on board with the Hogwarts Legacy timeline because it's different. But do we really need a remake of the series, if that's true? As the movies, as a TV series with a whole new cast? It just seems like it's just a lot. Let me know your thoughts on that. I don't really watch that much TV anyways, but I'm like, what in the world is going on? The other thing is, apparently, they're either talking about this. I know we have the Lord of the Rings TV series, Rings of Power, or Ring of Power. I don't remember which one it is. I've watched the first 2 episodes. I need to go back and watch it because it's been so long that I don't really fully remember what happened. So in order to watch it, I gotta really start over. But I got a week off, so I may try to sprinkle that in with the other stuff I plan on doing. But, they're talking about making sequels or remaking the movies for Lord of the Rings too. Again, I'm kind of in the same thing, it could be good, but I'm like, can we come up with some new ideas? Like, seriously, is Hollywood... I know that it seems like everything we've ever done has already been written, but is Hollywood really this dead? Like, no pun intended, I'm not mocking dead people in Hollywood. I mean, literally, are we this out of ideas? Is this generation that we're in so attached to nostalgia? Which nostalgia can be good, but I feel like we're really hitting this overkill part here. Some of it's really cool, some of the stories should have never been ended, and I get that in this day and age with studios and financing, it's a lot easier to make this stuff now because you don't have to worry about a TV time slot. I'm sure there were thousands upon thousands of projects that were lost because there's only so many primetime slots and TV slots that could do it in so many networks. Obviously now with streaming that's a lot easier because you don't have to really compete other than with your other streaming services. But you can release things in the same day, you don't have to fight over TV time, so I get that. So naturally there's going to be more, and that's, it can be good obviously because things are seeing the light of day that may not have. Like, do we really think that Stranger Things would have ever made it on regular television? Probably not. And that's one of my favorite shows. Do we think that, Picard would have ever got a new series? Probably not. Beavis and Butthead, I know Reno 911 was on that, I don't even know what the hell it was called, Quibi, I think it was. Where it was like 7-minute episodes. I try to get into it. It's just a weird format. I know they have the movie. I think it's on Comedy Central again. So I'm not positive on that, but I think it is. I haven't seen the new series. If it is, I would like to because I was a big fan and have the whole series on DVD and everything. But um, just just kind of overloaded with this stuff. I know one of the most interesting ones. I didn't, it didn't say whether it was going to be the original cast, but Alan Rickman was on the cast, so obviously there would be a problem there. So sadly he passed away. But talking about a Galaxy Quest TV series, I mean, yeah, Paramount does and owns, like all the rights to Star Trek and the movies and Picard, and apparently they own the rights to Galaxy Quest. And the original Galaxy Quest movie was really good. It's kind of like almost like a parody of Star Trek, but it was actually really, a really good movie. I think it had, I'm be chastised if I'm wrong, but I think it was Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, Alan Rickman, and then forgive me, the dude from The Monk. I can't remember his name. I remember him from The Monk because wrestling always used to promote The Monk. But that would come on after Raw forever ago when I used to watch WWE. I know he's done tons of other things. I just don't know his name. But but a Galaxy Quest series. So they would either have to recast Alan Rickman or just a completely new cast. I don't know. I don't know if Tim Allen's even still under contract with Disney, Hulu, whoever the hell owns all that stuff now. But I know that I think they were doing a Santa Claus remake or a series or something. So I don't even know if he could do it. But that's just like one of the things. Like that's the show or a movie that could become a show that Justin Long was in that too. That's right. But I would like to see that expanded on. So, I mean, that one I'm good with. But that was just a one-shot movie that wasn't even, I'm sure they didn't expect it to become a cult classic like it did. So I'm sure that's surprising. But, Lord of the Rings, I mean, I own all the extended editions of Lord of the Rings. I love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I bought The Hobbit like 10 years ago or whatever it came out. The series. I've, read the books or audiobooks. I never watched the movies. I know. Hate on me. It's fine. I get shit about all the time. I need to watch them. I just have the hardest problem concentrating if it's not in the theaters. My mind goes 200 different places, which my mind, for those of you, my mind is always like that. I'm always constantly thinking of a new idea, a new story, a new something. I'm usually listening to music pretty much all the time. It's just, and I guess I just have a high standard for some things sometimes. So I'll get easily bored. I'm like, something's written really bad. I'm like, I just can't make it through it. Or if I just lose interest, if there's too many plot holes, I'm not perfect by any means. I don't expect perfection or anything. It's just kind of hard to do that, to stay focused. Usually if I'm watching something, like my TV gets turned on like once a week to watch AEW on Wednesday nights. Other than that, I'm usually on my computer doing a combination of either streaming while listening to music, talking with friends, or even if I am playing a game on my second screen, I'm watching a movie or an anime or something. So, but once a story hooks me, I'm in. I just have to get to that point. And if I reach far enough and it doesn't hook me in, I'm like, time to move on. So maybe that's just, again, because of just the overkill with Hollywood. Sometimes we have so much just stuff. I know there's tons of options, and, Stranger Things is one of the things, usually I watch like the whole season like in one day. So, or a couple days. So, because I don't know, it's just something I gravitated to. The 80s, the time period, the stuff going on, the darkness, all that kind of stuff. So, I just fall into that stuff. So it's easy. X-Files, I love that stuff, even though I've seen it. A lot of this not poking fun at Netflix. I also fall into serial killer documentaries or just documentaries in general. I watch so many, like, video game history, wrestling, serial killer documentaries. It's not even funny. I have so much useless knowledge about everything. Like, I've seen, like, there's the Xbox documentary. Obviously, the indie game movie was a big hit. Watched it. The Xbox documentary is multiple parts about the whole growing of Xbox. There's a Sony documentary. There was a Nintendo documentary. And then there's Atari. There's ones about video games in general. There's documentaries about Sega versus Nintendo. There's so much. And that stuff is so interesting to me. Just the marketing, the timing, all that kind of stuff. And then, I watch a lot of YouTubers and stuff that go out and find like these old finds or find these games that are rare or a lot of people just hadn't heard of or Japanese imports and things like that. There's so much, content or games that we may not even be aware of because, obviously the internet wasn't even big back then either. So, and being imports, unless you're in like a city that has like a store that has imports, we don't really get to see a lot of those unless it's through like eBay or something like that. And then I watch serial killer documentaries, but I don't watch the reenactments. I would rather just get to the facts directly from the person than try to see like an actor reenact it. I just think that's, nothing against the actor. I just don't really care. I would rather just watch the hour and a half long documentary than watch a 10-part series that's meant to like Hollywood dramatize everything. I'm like, just give me the details and the facts and let's move on. I don't really need all this fluff, that's just me. The same thing with like the wrestling documentaries and stuff like that, or the podcasts. I listen to those too. So I guess I have a thirst for knowledge, whether it's useless or not, probably. And most of the time it is, because a lot of the stuff is so obscure. It's not like I can just bring it up in a random conversation. I'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, oh, yeah, no, this, and this. And I already tuned out before I even finished my thoughts. So that kind of went off the rails there with what we were talking about. But, that's just my taste and what I'm into these days. I don't ever watch the damn news. I don't want to. I'm the crazy person that still reads news articles. Like 95% of the time if someone sends me a video, I don't watch it. I know I'm terrible. I just don't watch it. And depending on what it says, I may or may not watch it. If it's like a short, funny video for like 30 seconds, I'll watch it. If it's some like damn hour-long video on nonsense or politicians or blah blah blah, I'm like, I don't care. I have my own thoughts and views and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm not good at watching that kind of stuff. It's just depressing, and it's just, it is what it is. Every now and I get some. I'm still rocking two phones because I have to, because I have different stuff attached to different accounts that I can't change, but there's some stuff that they have like news built into the phones where you swipe, and I'll read the news articles and stuff like that. Occasionally I'll watch videos, but not very often. I'm not one of those people that search through a lot of videos and stuff on their phone, especially TikTok. I don't have it, don't want it, don't give a shit when it comes to TikTok. So that's not me. Obviously, I have my own Facebook Reels and stuff like that. But it has to be on a subject, definitely, that I'm interested in. Now, comedy stuff, I can watch like a comedy skit for a couple minutes. Unless it's a whole comedy special. I'll actually sit down and watch that because I'm a big fan of comedy too. But, as far as like any of this political shit, I just don't care. I don't want to see it. I don't even really want to hear about it. Like I said, it's all nonsense anyway, so I just don't get involved with it. But that kind of gives you a idea into my head. And I'm always, dissecting things from my own writing or own ideas And sometimes I get on things. Sometimes I get distracted, or I have to think about how I want to do things, or I'm looking for approvals or thoughts, and sometimes I just got to go back and finish it. I have, definitely a couple different ideas. It's just really the execution of those and getting it done. Sometimes that's just anxiety of thinking about having to do it, which is meant to be fun and all that. But I don't really get too much anxiety about streaming or anything these days. But I mean, just in general, the execution and getting things done, or especially a project involving others, because then you have to work around a lot of schedules, and I don't like asking people for things, so I don't like asking a lot, so that's just me. I hate asking for things or depending on other people. That's part of my personality and being an Aries, apparently. The horoscopes that I never believed in until I started reading it. Not that I believe that, it's all untied, but there's definitely some things about me labeled in Aries that I can certainly agree with, which we talked about in the previous episode. But, I mean, back to Hollywood. I'd say the one good thing, there's more than one, is we get a lot of. I feel like the indie movie scene is really hot. There's some. They're not low budget studios. It doesn't sound good. Smaller studios compared to like Universal, Paramount, like A24. I think their most popular movie right now is probably The Whale with Brendan Fraser. I haven't got the chance to watch it yet. They usually do a lot of horror movies, but they seem to be really good. Blumhouse does a lot of good horror movies. Lionsgate, there for a while, from like the 2000s, did a lot of. I'm not sure how big of a thing they are, or whatever, if they're a distributor or whatever, but Lionsgate had a lot of, bangers on it. I know that, off subject, but apparently one of the former leads of Halo went to join Netflix Games, so we'll see how this whole gaming thing turns out. I wish them the best of luck. I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. Let's see if this is another Stadia or if this is a real thing. So we'll see how that goes. I highly doubt Netflix is going to get in the serious gaming business. If anything, they'll probably do games you can do from, like a Roku or the Fire Stick and things like that would be my guess. I doubt they're going to release any consoles or anything, but you never know. I'm sure they will, just to call me out now. Be like, you were wrong. You idiot. You should have known better. But yeah, in tied with Hollywood, is there so Dead Island 2 comes out Friday. I've got it pre-ordered. I'm planning on getting you guys some footage and streams for that. I finished Resident Evil 4 over the weekend, finally. I've been working on Forspoken a little bit. I think that, in my opinion, the multiplayer shooter and multiplayer online, even though it's the most popular it's probably ever been, is slowly dying away. I think there's so much toxicity in which we get wrapped up to it. I'm not immune to it, or it's not like I haven't done it, but I mean, there's so much toxicity with playing a game these days, and it's very hard for sometimes for people to, get off work and go play an online game and have fun, because there are professionals, and I get that. It seems like for some reason game developers just stop giving a shit about, I know that ranked play is ranked for a reason, but in the majority of situations, ranked play isn't even ranked anymore, because a lot of the games just don't care. I remember Halo 3 used to have an option. You could choose to get the quickest match or the closest to your rank. I don't know what the hell ever happened to that option. Not in Halo 3, but in general, but that was nice to have that option. I just don't understand why that's not a thing anymore. I can wait patiently and actually get a game in, my team's skill level, so it's fun, but games just seem to not care. It will just match you up with anybody. For instance, I'll shit on Overwatch for a little bit. You guys know, because I was obviously playing some ranked, but what the hell's happened to Overwatch? when Overwatch 1 turned to Overwatch 2, it's pretty much the same game with some new graphics, some new heroes, and they changed some abilities, but I feel like free-to-play is almost a kiss of death these days. I know some of the biggest games in the world are free-to-play, but it's hard entering that space. But the rank play, holy hell is it broken. I remember one game we had a GM, which is a Grandmaster, which is the highest rank in the game, Platinum, Diamond, I think Gold, Silver, and Bronze. So we had almost every rank in the whole damn game in one game. Like, how is that even fair to anybody? Like, it was not even, and this person was on my team that was a GM, so obviously we completely destroyed them. But that's just not. And then, like, whoever the hell it was came out for Overwatch, and they're like, well, if you tired of getting bad matches, tell your friends to get online. Like, nobody wants to play this damn game anymore, bro. What are you talking about? Like, how about you actually fix it? So I bring that up with saying it's like, it doesn't really matter what online game you play these days. And I'm not talking about co-op, campaign, obviously that's a different realm, or MMOs, but it's so toxic. You've always got someone throwing, cheating, or just mouthing outside their mind, harassing, or someone that's, 8,000 ranks above you. It's like, I guess I understand that everybody wants instant results these days, so having a queue might turn some people away, or having to wait. But it's gotten to a level where even I, with my streams, I've always played all kinds of games, but you're probably going to see me doing pretty much like single player or co-op games here for quite a while until something else comes out. It seems like there's just, for one, it's the same damn games that have been out for 5 or 6 years. Fortnite, Apex, PUBG, Warzone, or COD. There's a fifth. Oh, Overwatch. I'm pretty sure, and then Valorant. I mean, I like Valorant. It can be very toxic as well, but I can get along with Valorant. It's not quite as bad. CS:GO can get pretty rough sometimes. Of course, that game's been out for years. People are really serious about it. They have pros, That can be a little rough. Valorant, I can pretty much do, but I get sometimes the toxicity even comes from me, because sometimes I just can't deal with my teammates, and it's like sometimes it's rough playing games where you have to again depend on somebody else. That can be bad. But in general, those 5 games have been really the ones for 5 years. There's been so many battle royales that came out and died, multiplayer games. I know there's that new game from Ubisoft, I think X Defiant. But in general, it's been the same set of games, really, the multiplayer landscape for so long. There's been lots of other games that came out. They just didn't survive. They didn't have fan bases, ran out of money, they shut the servers down. There's been so much that happened. And now we have Hollywood realizing that there's a lot of money in video games and a lot of fans. So, I mean, listen, I love a good video game movie. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. I just hope we just don't saturate the shit out of the market and ruin everything for everybody, which is my fear. I mean, I'll still love the games even if they screw up the movie, but I feel like we're over the superhero phase now, and we're now in the video game phase. Mario's making a ton of money. You already heard my opinions on that. Not a fan of the movie. Let's see, there's a Gears of War series or something in place. The Halo TV series, we don't know what's going on with it. There's a Zelda movie, apparently. Shit, who knows what all the other one are going to be with all these movies. Or apparently there's a Dead Space movie in the works. So there's a lot of the most popular. So I just hope it doesn't trickle down. But it seems like video games have already become very stagnant. Now, I'll be playing Dead Island 2 this weekend. I'm hyped for that. And I have my other stuff. You just may see me transition from not really playing as many multiplayer games. So, and I'm working on trying to build an audience, and I think my most entertaining moments are playing RPGs and online co-op with friends and that kind of stuff, rather than trying to be the best player in the world in an online multiplayer game. I don't see that's going to happen. Obviously, I still work. I don't have my days to just every day play the same game for 12 hours a day, and I'll be bored as shit even if I did. So, if you see me transition to kind of that on the streams, that's going to be why. I just kind of wanted to explain. And also, if you have any thoughts on that, or if you think I'm wrong, or whatever, or if I forgot something, just kind of let me know. But the landscape is just different and changing. So, we'll see. Now, there's plenty of video games I want a sequel to that will probably never freaking see the light of day. But you never know, because they cost so much money. Some of these stuff, we'll see how Game Pass ultimately changes the trajectory of games. If PlayStation does anything, I know Ubisoft Plus, they've rumored it to be added into Xbox Game Pass for what feels like ever. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. I know that's helped out a lot of indie developers, so there's a lot of decent indie games that come out. A lot of those aren't online multiplayer, but that's fine. I just feel like we're transitioning away from that, and obviously gaming went from a niche market to online multiplayer just exploding, and now it's a very popular thing. And I often find myself distancing myself from super popular things because they become stale or overused or overdone. So I think that you will likely notice that if you watch me on my streams and things too. And let's hope we get some cool, movies and series out of this stuff. We'll see what we come up with. I'm a huge Gears fan, of course, so obviously, instead of that, I'm waiting to see more on this whole other stuff. I think they're doing another Resident Evil movie or something. The series on Netflix definitely wasn't it for me. I got through like an episode and a half. It just wasn't doing it for me. Granted, the movies weren't like super amazing. I thought the last one was pretty good, the lower budget one that people seem to hate on for whatever reason. It was actually more closer to any of the games, so I don't really understand that. That's a whole nother story, but garnered some hate I didn't really think it deserved. But that's just me speaking out about that. I'm going to quit making promises of what I'm going to talk about next, because I don't know. It's been quite the month with job switching and people being sick and craziness and birthdays that we haven't been able to get together as a group to really do one. So I'm going to stop promising that to you. And just, sometimes these topics and things, I see all this stuff that happens like this week. I see all these movies and TV shows and shit popping up, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell is going on? I'm like, I know Discovery just closed on that deal for Warner Brothers or whatever the hell they were called nowadays with all that content, so now they're like, let's make a movie and series about everything. Like every old IP, let's make every damn thing in the world. Apparently there's a Mortal Kombat 2 movie being made as well, which, the first remake wasn't too bad. It was pretty decent, so we'll see how that goes. I think they said that's going to be on, because of course, HBO Max is now just being referenced and renamed to just Max. Because they're combining Discovery Plus and HBO Max into one service, and so we'll see where that goes. We'll see if they stop selling off their own properties. We'll see how that works out, but we'll see with the content and what that comes up with, if that's going to make even a difference with the financials, or if that's going to make a difference in what they do. But obviously they're very interested in trying to revive all their old IPs. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. A new Beavis and Butthead, that's Paramount, but it was pretty decent. Another news story I saw, I don't know this to be true, it's just something I read, so I'm not going to try to speak this into existence, but apparently Yellowstone, which is what is actually one of the shows that I do watch, Apparently, there's a lot of turmoil with the cast and creators, all that goodness. So the rumors are they're just going to end it at the end of this season. We went through one part of season 5. So if that's true, then that sucks really hard, because that's probably the best show on TV. You know, every time we get these big shows, I always think, man, this is going to be the last big show to ever be on actual TV. And I really thought that about Game of Thrones. I know the HBO is technically a premium channel, but I was thinking, man, we've really changed the times of streaming and everything. I'm like, I don't think we'll ever have a time where I felt like Game of Thrones, but Yellowstone is, man, I don't know if it's on the same. I know it was the number one show on cable, so I don't know if it's even close to the same numbers. It's probably not, but there was the times have changed, which, you know, can be helpful, but people used to, like for Game of Thrones, I remember we used to have like watch parties, and we would all, as soon as the show would air, we would all go, you know, to the front room and get ready to watch it, like live, or, you know, semi-live, whatever, you know, if you're going to the apps. But it was almost like live sports at that time. The whole world was watching, and you could see the instant results on Twitter and everything like that. And now we're in such a different time, which is nice, because you can work around your schedule and you don't miss things. You don't have to worry about recording, all that dumbness. But I really thought that Game of Thrones was going to be the last of its kind, to where it would stop bringing people together like that because of the changing times all at one time. And then, bam, here comes Yellowstone out of nowhere. And I know a lot of people, I think it's on the same time too, like Sunday at 8, or almost the same time as Game of Thrones, I think. So maybe that's the time to do it. But now I'm wondering again, especially if Yellowstone is really ending, is like, is this the end? Not just of the show, but I mean, is this the end of things other than live sports? Because there will always be, I mean, I say always, but at least in the immediate, there will always be the need and everything for people to gather for live sports. It's such a huge entity, and obviously you don't want spoilers. I mean, there's kind of a difference. If you miss a TV show and someone maybe says something, even if you know what happens, you're probably still going to watch it, because you want to see it for yourself. Sports, I mean, if you just hear that, hey, the Cowboys lost again, I mean, you may go watch it just to watch the Cowboys lose again, just to laugh. But in general, you're not going to be like, man, I can't wait to sit down and watch that. So it creates, and there's not really, I mean, other than DVR and stuff, especially like Sunday Ticket, there's not a way to record all those games, so that does help. But, you know, you have to gather around, especially like the Super Bowl, the NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup, World Series. You gather around, but for TV, that's been slowly dwindling and dwindling as things have changed and everything, of course, because, you know, with DVR, you know, and online streaming services, they just put, you know, at midnight, it unlocks it, and whenever you get time the next day after you get out of work. So while everybody may be watching over a weekend, it's not like the world's paused in time as everybody watches one thing. So it's just something, one of the crazy things I think about. But I wonder if Yellowstone is going to be the end of that happening with regular TV. Obviously, there's still plenty of people. You know, I get cable in my apartment because it comes with the apartment. You know, so there's plenty of people that still use cable, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, all that stuff. And obviously for live sports, you know, a lot of people just use the, you know, locals, antennas. A lot of people just use streaming services, don't watch any of it. There's a lot of differences in how we get our content than there was even 5-10 years ago. So I just wonder, you know, they say you'd never really know the good times until they're over with. So is it one of those things? Like I'm an advocate for movie theaters and things like that too, because I think there is a certain experience to getting out in the theater rather to watching something on TV. While it can get old getting out and, getting sick or what the hell ever. You got someone with screaming kids or someone on their damn phone. That annoys the shit out of me. I want to get up and throw their phone. But that's an experience factor. At least here we're down to 2 theaters from 4 or 5 from 5 years ago. So I'm just hoping that they stay around, because I think that there's plenty of blockbusters this year, so they should be making some money. But that's another experience, much like the live TV part, that I think as a society, not that TV is important or movies, there's obviously more important shit out there, but it's just something else that we could be on the verge of losing if we, I guess, continue on this path. So I think that's just something to monitor, and especially with everything we've talked about today, as far as I know, well, I don't know if the movies will be, but all these TV series and everything, of course, I meant for the streaming services, because they're in a large competition. They're trying to get everybody on their services to stay for good. And a lot of competition in that market. So, trying to really find anything and pull everybody to give them time over somebody else. And of course, that's marketing and business. They'd be stupid to not do that. We'll just see where it goes in the future. I didn't really have a lot more today. I think I've probably overtalked, if anything, just what I feel like babbling on for almost an hour. Please hit me up on the topics or anything. Like I said, I gave you my email. You can find us on every streaming platform. No. Shit, here I go. I've been talking about streaming platforms. On anywhere podcasts can be found. We're also on YouTube. You can find me or the group on Facebook at Genuine Unintelligence. If you want to like, share, subscribe, comment, certainly appreciate that. You can email me at nick@genuineunintelligence.com for any thoughts. If you want to be on the show, if you have a topic you want me to cover, if you think I'm an idiot, whatever you want to tell me, that's fine. Maybe it's all the above. Shit, who knows? So, we appreciate that. We appreciate just listening to us and give us a chance. I know there's a lot of competition out there for your entertainment and to get your attention, so we appreciate anything we can get. And I will be back to talk with you guys in the week. Hopefully get a lot of stories. I should be doing some streaming this weekend, or this week, towards the end of the week, since I'll be off. Like I said, I plan on playing some Dead Island 2. So, I just want to thank you guys, or guys and girls and gals and what the hell ever. I don't know what the correct word is anymore. But I just want to thank you for your time. And hope to be back giving you some more information here soon. Thanks, everybody.